Hey, what the hell's going on with you and your face and your nostrils and your earlobes and your lips? See, that's what's on a face. I'm just noticing that. Hi, I'm an idiot. How are you? Nick Digilio here. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. Tons of videos here. Scroll down. Tons of them. I've been doing them for months. Movie reviews and stories and all kinds of goofy shit that you can watch and participate in. Leave your comments. Tons of videos. I share a lot of these videos and more on Patreon, which is where you should make a donation right now. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Pick a tier, make a monthly donation of $3, $6, $25 a month. $3 a month. Make a donation, $3 a month. You will help keep the videos going. You'll help me to keep my podcast going. It helped me to keep going. It's a very simple thing. It's $3 a month. What is that? A Slurpee? What is that? A chilada? Or a Coca-Cola? I don't know. When you go to Starbucks, what do you spend $3 on at Starbucks? You can't even get a coffee for $3. $3 a month. Please. It's easy. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Go to that page. Donate today. Become a patron. Get bonus materials and videos and all kinds of cool stuff. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Bonus and donate today. My podcast is on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Thank you for subscribing. Got a lot of subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. RadioMisfits.com. Free. Nick D Podcast. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday. All right. For the past week, the Music Box Theater has been all encompassed by the Chicago Critics Film Festival, and it ended last night. The big closing night festivities of a terrific film festival. If you've been watching these videos, you know that the Chicago Film Critics Association, whose president is Brian Tallarico, and he produced it along with my buddy Eric Childress and all the other members of the guys and gals of the Chicago Film Critics Association. Programmed it, picked the movies based upon what they've seen in film festivals around the world. They bring it all to Chicago for one full week where they show a lot of premieres, show a lot of terrific movies, have a lot of incredible guests, writers, directors, stars, actors, actresses. They have a lot of incredible short films that are shown in a showcase that's programmed by my friend Colin Suter. And they have older films that they do anniversary screenings of. They did a 30th anniversary midnight screening of Francis Coppola's version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And they did a 25th anniversary screening in 35mm of Paul Thomas Anderson's masterpiece from 1997, Boogie Nights. Saw it on the big screen. All fantastic events, great houses, incredible things. I went 6 of the 7 nights. I only missed one night of the Chicago Critics Film Festival. So I was there basically, except for Tuesday, for the past week, for hours at a time, in the lobby, outside, in the movie theater. I was at the Music Box Theater experiencing the camaraderie, the awesomeness, the beautiful way that this festival was operated and presented, and sitting in the movie theater watching a ton of movies. I saw 16 films in this week. One of them being Boogie Nights, so I'm not counting that on the master list. I made a list in order of preference of the 15 films. I'm not counting, again, Boogie Nights is, 25-year-old movie, which I saw that night, packed theater in the beautiful Music Box, an unbelievably pristine 35mm print. It was amazing. Everybody in the theater loves that movie. 90% of the house, and it was packed. 90% of the house has seen it before. When Philip Seymour Hoffman made his first appearance, there was rapturous, huge cheers and applause, which made me tear up a little bit. And it was just great to see a truly great movie by, I think, the best American director working today, and who has been working today for 25 years, and one of his best movies on the big screen again. It was an incredible experience, and an experience that is exemplified by what the Chicago Film Critics try to do every year with this event. This is the 9th event. I was able to go throughout the whole thing because I don't have a full-time job, which is why I'm on Patreon. Donate today. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Anyway, so I was able to go to a lot of the nights and see a lot of the movies, and it was spectacular. A great event, overall a great event, and I will tell you in order, the best movies that I saw. I will rank them, the 15 movies that I saw. Closing night, there were 2 movies, and I will review those movies for you right now. And they had a big party afterwards. Lots of people for the second movie showed up, including, one of the most beloved, hilarious, talented stand-up comedians, writers, performers, actors that everybody loves. Patton Oswalt was there live in-house for the post Q&A and for the big closing night party and all that stuff. But the 2 movies that they showed last night, closing night, at the Chicago Critics Film Festival were, the first one was Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, which is a film that stars the great Emma Thompson. She plays a widow who is in her late 50s and it has been very, let's say, repressed in her sexual world. Her sexuality has been very, very repressed. She's only had sex with one person, and that was her husband, who has passed away, and the sex was not good. She's never had an orgasm. She considers herself old. She is a teacher at a religious school and had been for years, retired now. And so she calls up an escort agency, or she, books an escort, sees his picture online, beautiful man, and the escort shows up at a hotel room, and that's the beginning of the movie. And the escort is played by Daryl McCormack, who you might remember from Peaky Blinders. The film is directed by Sophie Hyde, who has directed a lot of TV stuff. She's an Australian filmmaker and some films in Australia. And it was written by an actress, a comedian, a writer named Katie Brand. And Katie Brand, from British TV shows and sort of eclectic and kind of weird comedy stuff. She's a terrific writer and has written some great stuff and done, sketch comedy, and had a very successful TV show in Britain. And so this is like her full screenplay debut. So anyway, what happens is, in Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, this repressed older woman reluctantly calls this escort. He shows up, he's a beautiful man, and they begin talking, and he's in his 20s, and all she wants is she's very nervous, has never done anything like this before, never called an escort. Again, the only person she ever had sex with is her dead husband. She's got 2 kids who she has a very strained relationship with. They're off doing their own thing. One's in college, one's working. They both kind of don't really respond to her very much. She doesn't have a great rapport with her adult children, and wants to do, as she's gotten older, wants to do something that she's never done before, which is to have some good sex and just experience that, maybe experience an orgasm, which she's never had in her life. So along comes this guy, Leo Grand, and they begin a relationship which is much more than just, hooker-John relationship. They begin talking, and that's what the movie's about. The movie is about these 2 people, this widow who is repressed, who has really low self-esteem because she's older, and, she's in her late 50s, so her body is wrinkled and kind of sagging, and it's not that tight, taut, 20-year-old body that all the women want. And she is teamed up with this beautiful, hunky, fantastically handsome young man who is there to serve all of her needs sexually. But they develop kind of a relationship, a friendship, and they start talking to each other. They get beyond the barriers that have been put up with fake names. She's using a fake name. He's using a fake name. They start to talk about their personal lives. They get to know more about each other. She gets to learn more about his family life, his horrible relationship with his mother, his strained relationship with his brother, and the lies that he tells them to keep them from knowing that he's an escort. And she starts to tell him about the relationships that she has with her kids, the relatively stiff and not very good relationship that she had with her husband, especially sexually. And they do some sexual stuff, and they talk about sex, and they talk about life. And that's what the movie's about. And it's ultimately about how these 2 people, this older woman and this younger male prostitute, affect each other and change their lives. It is a beautiful movie. It is funny. It is frank. It's honest about sex. It's not only sex positive, but it's also very sexy. It's a very sexy movie. Emma Thompson is extraordinarily great in it, and so is Daryl McCormack. The scenes with them, it's mostly a 2-person show. This could have been a stage play. It mostly takes place in a hotel room over the course of 4 different meetings that they have in order to have some sex and achieve what she wants to achieve, that she's written down. She's always going to be a teacher. She writes this list of things that she wants to accomplish, including very detailed sexual acts that she would like to try. And it's about these 2 people who meet and who affect each other's lives sexually, for her, definitely, and both for them personally and spiritually and intellectually. They become friends, and that's what the movie's about. I love this movie. I love it. It is one of the most entertaining, thoroughly satisfying films that I've seen, no pun intended, that I've seen all year. Emma Thompson's extraordinary in this movie, playing the repressed, sad, depressed, frumpy woman who's never had an orgasm, who's never had, good sex. And if you know Emma Thompson at all over the years, if you've ever read anything about her, if you've read stories about her, if you've ever met her, if you've ever seen her on talk shows, she's nothing like the character that's in this movie. She's a very sexual person. She's a very lively person. You know that she's had some fun in her life. Emma Thompson. She is broad and funny and fearless and got a lot of balls. She'll say whatever the fuck she wants to say, does not care about, offending anyone. Has a few drinks and some cocktails when she's at award shows, and as a result is one of the most entertaining and spectacularly fun women on the planet and personalities. And she's very sexual. Very, very sexual. Makes no qualms about it. Never has. A lot of the parts that she's played in the past are very sex-forward. She's very sexy in real life. And you know that she's, like if you would think Emma Thompson, so much different, such a stretch to play this part, this woman who's never had an orgasm, who's never experimented in any kind of, sex of any kind, and who has this horrible relationship, and she's frumpy, and she's embarrassed about, her livelihood that she had, how she earned her living. It's a great performance, a truly great performance from her. She's a great actress, and you expect a great performance by Emma Thompson, but this is so far removed from the way that she really is and from a lot of the performances she's done before. It's a spectacular performance. It's a brave performance. In the last 10 minutes of this movie, this is a woman who is in her late 50s at this point. I think late 50s, at least in the movie, the character's in her late 50s. And does not have, the kind of model body, the Hollywood body that so many Hollywood assholes expect, you to show off. And she does some brave stuff in this movie. I won't give anything away, but there is just what my favorite moment in the movie happens. No, I can't give it away. But anyway, let me just say this. It's a great movie. Unfortunately, it's only going to be on Hulu. I guess that's good. I guess a lot of people will be able to see it. It's going to be on Hulu, I think, June 17th. And it's called Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. One of the best movies of 2022. Just simply very entertaining, an audience pleaser. I told the guys that I thought that was going to win the audience award, because during the festival you fill out a ballot to pick to tell everybody how much you like the movies, and they keep track of, and during the week they kept track of the movies that the audiences respond to, the ones they like the most. And I predicted, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but I predicted that this movie, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, would be the audience favorite, because it is one of the most satisfying movies, an audience pleaser, a great movie for adults. It's a movie made for adults. It's an intelligent, funny, beautiful, well-acted, basically 2-on-2 movie, although there is another character who plays a waitress, and that is Isabella Laughlin, who played Leanne in the Harry Potter movies. She plays a waitress late in the movie. She's fucking hilarious. She is unbelievably funny, and only has a small role, but shows up and gets to work with these two actors in a wonderful scene together. So I can't recommend this movie highly enough. Intelligent, smart movies for thinking adults, older folks. It's frank about sex, so if you're offended by that kind of stuff, or full frontal nudity, or some sex stuff that happens in the movie, if you're offended by that, all right, whatever. I think you should throw that shit in the back of your mind, open up a little bit and see this movie, because it's unbelievably satisfying as an adult, intelligent, wonderful relationship film, and a great movie where a unapologetic middle-aged actress kicks fucking ass. It's a great movie, a terrific movie. The other movie, the big closing night movie, was called I Love My Dad. And this was the big closing night movie. The whole week was building up to this. Patton Oswalt, who is everybody loves Patton Oswalt. I do too. He's one of my favorite comedians ever. A tremendous actor, a great writer, wonderful guy, hilarious. This is written, directed by and starring James Morosini. And James Morosini based this on a real incident that happened with his dad, which is astonishing that this actually happened to him and his dad. Lil Ray Howery is in it. Amy Landecker is in it, who was at the closing night screening. Rachel Dratch is in it, and Claudia Sulewski, who was also at the closing night last night. She is a YouTuber. I don't know. I guess she has a YouTube channel, and she's a host for Teen Vogue. And I guess she's dating Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother. So anyway, she's in the movie too. So basically, and this happened to this guy, this James Morosini, it really happened to him. Basically, he was a depressed teenage kid who ended up trying to kill himself. His parents got divorced, Amy Landecker, Patton Oswalt, they play his parents. They get divorced, and his dad has been trying to reach out to him. As he gets out of this, he had to stay in a hospital for a while and go to therapy and all kinds of stuff. So he gets released. He goes back home to live with his mom, played by Amy Landecker. And his father reaches out to him, played by Patton Oswalt. And one of the reasons why he was depressed, one of the reasons why he tried to take his life is because his dad was overbearing. His dad was a liar. From a very young age, he discovered that his dad was full of shit. He was overbearing. Everything that he did in his life was a lie. And he was not good with his kids. He was not good with any relationships he had. He was a born liar who always wanted to get his way and be very, very sneaky and very, very dishonest about everything he ever did. So this kid, this disturbed kid who gets out of this institution, not institution, but a hospital, still has to go to counseling and stuff, decides that he's going to block his dad. So from all social media, Facebook, although the names of the social media aren't really mentioned, but Facebook is the primary one, he blocks his dad. And that's the only correspondence that he's been giving his dad is through social media. So he blocks him, and he never calls him back. He doesn't talk to him. So Patton Oswalt, he becomes obsessed with getting a hold of his son, who he really wants to talk to, who he really wants to have a relationship with, even though he's a liar, he's a sneak, he's an asshole, but he really wants to get back in and have this relationship with his son. So what he does is, in a desperate attempt to try to reconnect with his son, he creates a fake profile on social media, Facebook-ish, by taking this identity of another girl, of this waitress that he sees at a restaurant that he goes to, this girl named Becca, who is a very attractive, young, late teens, early 20s waitress that he meets, sees her, looks her up online, and makes a completely fake profile, and then friends his son. And so basically he catfishes his own son, pretending to be a hot waitress, and they start talking back and forth online, never meeting or anything like that. And he catfishes his son, basically, and begins this relationship, online relationship, that brings his son out of his shell. He starts to fall for this woman, this Becca girl, who is an actual real woman, whose identity Patton Oswalt's character kind of lifts for his own device. And Patton Oswalt begins to pretend he's this girl, and texting and posting and messaging back and forth with his own son in a desperate and pathetic effort to connect back with his son. And so they decide, Becca, the character that Patton Oswalt is pretending to be, decides that they are going to meet where she works. And so it becomes a road trip movie where his son, played by James Morosini, reluctantly calls Patton Oswalt's character and says, "Hey, Dad, give me a ride. I'm going to meet this girl that I met online. We're going to meet face-to-face. We've never seen each other face-to-face. We've never talked, blah, blah, blah." And then it becomes a road trip, and then it becomes sort of is this father and son going to reconcile? Is the son going to forgive the father for being a jagoff? And what is going to happen as this catfishing scam that his father is doing to his own son, as it gets more complicated? To the point, yes, where there's a sexting scene in the film, where the father is actually sexting with his son, pretending to be a hot waitress. And that's, what happens. That's what happens in the movie, and what happened, I guess, to James Morosini in real life. His father really did catfish him. And so he made a movie out of it. Okay, the guys at Chicago Critics Film Festival, the guys that program it, love this movie. They were very excited about it. They were like, "Oh, it's a cringy comedy. You're going to squirm in your seat. You're not going to believe some of the stuff that they do in the movie. The whole sexting with the father and son scene is unbelievable. You're not going to believe it, blah, blah, blah." Okay, I fucking hated this movie. I hated it. It is an R-rated, kind of uncomfortable Three's Company episode. That's essentially all it is. And I know the guy lived it. I know he really lived it. But you know what? He lived a 90-minute fucking episode of Three's Company. That's what he turned his real experience into. Now, whether the real experience was different, or I'm assuming more complex, it was more simplified for quicker audience response, for laughs and cringes, he simplified it. But okay, I know what happened to the guy in real life, and that's incredible. It's an unbelievable story, and it's certainly a story that's worth making a movie out of, but he made a real shitty, misunderstanding, R-rated, let's push the envelope content episode of Three's Company. That's all it is. It's a waste of talent for Patton Oswalt, who is way over the top in this movie and not good at all. James Morosini he does frumpy still. I'm the depressed teenager. He wears a hoodie over his head and he sits on a rooftop. His acting, not great. The character, even though it's him and it's based on his real life, seems completely one-dimensional to me. Amy Landecker, completely wasted as the mom. She spends a lot of time in kitchens and answering phones. That's all Amy Landecker does. This Claudia Sulewski, she's fine. She's charming. Doesn't have much to do except to, like, look hot and be part of the cringy comedy that the movie does. Lil Ray Howery basically playing the same role that he played in Get Out and the same role that he always plays. The wacky black sidekick who has, streetwise comments to make. And it's a terribly written role. Again, like a third of what was great about Get Out, he does that shit. It's checked off the list of the shit that he can do in that role. The only thing in this movie that works is Rachel Dratch. Rachel Dratch steals this movie. She's only in it for a little bit. The sexting scene, she's part of the sexting scene. There's in it. Her stuff is, it becomes part of this scene that just doesn't fucking work at all. But her scenes outside of that are great. The only time I laughed at all during the entire movie, the only time that I was pleased, smiled, or laughed at all was because of Rachel Dratch. One scene in particular where you find out that Patton Oswalt is dating his coworker, played by Rachel Dratch. Their first scene together, Dratch steals it. Steals the whole movie. By far the best thing in the movie. The only time the movie comes to life. All of the forced uncomfortableness, the edginess, ooh, we're making a black comedy, ooh, we're sexting, look, the dad is catfishing, and the way that Morosini stages the stuff with Patton Oswalt sitting next to his son and holding his hand or kissing him, is to push the envelope. You could have made this movie without doing the cheap tactics of having a father and son on screen making out. Did you really have to go there? And it doesn't work, and it's not cringy. It's not like, ooh, what a risk he's taking. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's easy. It's fucking easy to get a response from an audience by having the character playing the father and the character playing the son kiss each other and make out and rub each other sexually. That's easy. Do it psychologically. How about taking it up a notch and actually writing a three-dimensional character and actually diving into what that kind of thing could do to you? Everything is surfacey. Everything is sitcom. It's cheap. It's easy. The jokes are like, God damn, okay, here's another reenactment. Okay, we get it. This sexy girl that's texting him is not really a sexy girl that's texting him. It's Patton Oswalt. And it's scene after scene after scene after scene of like, look how uncomfortable this is. It's not really, hey, get it? It's not really a sexy girl that's texting and messaging this guy. It's an overweight, middle-aged guy played by Patton Oswalt. Isn't that funny? You didn't think it was funny? Well, here's another scene of an overweight, middle-aged guy texting a young guy who thinks it's a sexy girl. Isn't that hilarious? It's not. It's one joke, and it's done over and over and over and over and over again to the point where I wanted to punch somebody in the face. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. So I hated it. I thought it sucked. One-dimensional, Three's Company, cheap, easy, not edgy in any way, shape, or form. Not queasy. I never felt uncomfortable. I was just like, oh, look, here's an easy joke. They took the easy way out on this movie, and the result is a really bad 90-minute Three's Company episode with a very good cast that's wasted. I hated it. And I did not stay for the party afterwards or the Q&A. So I'm sure they had a great time. The place was packed. The audience loved it. Let me just say that. They loved it. They cheered like crazy. I left before the Q&A, so I don't know how that went. I left before the big party afterwards because I didn't want to be a bump on the log. I didn't want to be the one guy in a room full of hundreds of people that hated the movie. And I didn't want to be there. And I would have loved to have, and I could have. I would have loved to have actually met Patton Oswalt. I could have met with him, could have had a picture with him, could have talked with him. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to walk up to the guy and go, hey, good job. I wasn't going to walk up to him and go, hey, I think that's the worst performance you've ever given in a movie that's a glorified Three's Company episode. I wasn't going to do that. And I didn't want to be there and be grumpy because I hated the movie so much. So I left. And it was the best thing that I could do was just get out of there. Now, on a whole, the fest was fantastic. And I'm sure that the party was a blast. Congratulations to every single person who put this thing together and every single person that helped out at the Music Box Theater and the staff and the volunteers and everybody. The guys who programmed it. A fantastic festival. Overall, fantastic. I just don't want to talk about how much I hated the opening night and the closing night. It's insane. But the two movies that I hated the most were the opening night movie and the closing night movie. Everything else in between I either thought was good or great. Opening night, awful. Closing night, awful. Here's my ranking. I saw 15 new movies, again, not counting Boogie Nights. Here they are, and I'll go from worst to best. Worst to best. Coming in number 15, the worst movie I saw is I Love My Dad. Closing night. 14, the second worst movie I saw was the opening night. Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Coming in at 13, going up. Flux Gourmet, the only movie that I actually walked out of, but I wasn't hating it. I was just bored with it and I wanted to get home. And I actually think what I saw of Flux Gourmet is better than both Cha-Cha and I Love You Dad. Number 12 is Inuo. And again, from here on, I just want to say this, from here on, from 12 all the way through to 1, the best movie of the fest, I would recommend all of these movies. I would even recommend Inuo with a lot of reservations, but there are great things about it. So let me just say that none of the movies that I'm going to continue to mention, from 12 all the way up through 1, I would recommend them. Number 11 is Emily the Criminal, with a terrific performance by Aubrey Plaza. Number 10 is Hold Your Fire, terrific documentary about hostage negotiations and the first time that ever was put into practice. Number 9, Both Sides of the Blade, Claire Denis, new French romantic triangle film with Juliette Binoche and Victor London. And number 8, Benediction, Terrence Davies' latest beautiful movie with incredible beginning and an incredible ending and wonderful performances all the way around. Number 7, from Mexico, Piggy, a horror film about an overweight girl who gets teased and becomes friends with a serial killer. Number 6, another horror movie, Watcher, a thriller that's an homage to stuff like Roman Polanski and Robin Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock and Darren Aronofsky, about a young actress who is across the street from a guy who's spying on her while a serial killer is killing people. Scary, great, wonderful. Number 5, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, the feature film, full-length feature film, Jenny Slate providing the voice of Marcel the Shell. Wonderful animation, wonderful story, beautiful, funny, touching, cried, loved it. Number 4, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, the one I just mentioned with Emily Thompson. Number 2, Resurrection, the insane psychological mindfuck of a movie with an outstanding, incredible performance by the one, the only, the best actress on the planet currently, Rebecca Hall, with a very creepy Tim Roth. Crazy film. Resurrection, number 2. And number 1, To Leslie. An amazing film featuring an incredible performance by Amanda Riceborough as an alcoholic who is trying to come to terms with her life, to get redemption, to find a second chance after fucking up every relationship she's had, especially with her son. So those are my favorite movies in order from number 1 to number 15. 2, Leslie. 2, Resurrection. 3, Speak No Evil. 4, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. 5, Marcel the Shell. 6, Watcher. 7, Piggy. 8, Benediction. 9, Both Sides of the Blade. 10, Hold Your Fire. 11, Emily the Criminal. 12, Inuo. 13, Flux Gourmet. 14, Cha-Cha Real Smooth. 15, I Love My Dad. So overall, there are only 3 movies that I wouldn't recommend out of 15. That's an incredible achievement. Congratulations to everybody involved. It was the 9th annual one. I can't wait for the 10th annual one. And I mean, overall, an amazing film festival. I am incredibly proud to know the people and be colleagues and friends with the people that put this thing together. You should be very proud. So the Chicago Film Festival, or the Chicago Critics Film Festival, in the books for another year. Overall, outstanding. So there you go. And always support the Chicago Film Critics Organization for year round. All right? There you go. Great film fest, guys. Congrats.